In the silence where creation begins, have you ever wondered why every person you meet feels like a mirror? As we navigate life's corridors, surrounded by souls wearing masks of circumstance, we overlook a radical truth. What we perceive in others is not external reality, but a reflection of our own consciousness. The great secret: every face you see is you pushed out. Those roles people play, those guarded smiles, they are not separate from you. They are expressions of states hidden within your imagination. When you sense depth beneath someone's facade, you are not reading them. You are touching the wisdom of your own divine nature. Here is the law. In consciousness, there is no other. The world you experience, every trait you judge in others, mirrors your assumptions. This is not philosophy. It is the living architecture of reality. As the ancient teaching reveals, the whole vast world is yourself pushed out. To judge another's character, then, is to explore the uncharted depths of your own being. Yet we complicate what is simple. We chase psychological theories to decode others, when the answer lies in mastering conscious assumption. Step away from the noise of appearances, and you'll witness a sacred alignment. Your inner states sculpt the characters you encounter. Today, we awaken to two divine principles that reframe how we discern character. These are not mere observations, but spiritual laws, keys to seeing beyond flesh and into the realm where consciousness shapes form. Imagine this: every interaction becomes a dialogue in the language of consciousness. A gesture, a word, a choice. None are random. Each is a brushstroke, painting the portrait of your assumptions. This awareness does more than reveal character. It grants power to transform it through imagination. Hold this truth close. The traits you seek to understand in others are shadows cast by the light of your own consciousness. Navigate your inner world with intention, and you'll unlock the ability to reshape both perception and reality. Let us delve into the first and most profound principle of character discernment: how one treats those who cannot offer anything in return. But beloved, understand this not as mere external observation, but as a divine law operating through the perfect mirror of consciousness. When you observe someone's treatment of those in service positions, the barista, the janitor, the delivery person, you are not witnessing random acts of kindness or cruelty. You are experiencing the externalization of states of consciousness, both yours and theirs, though in truth they are one and the same. For remember, the fundamental law states that everyone is you pushed out. Consider this eternal truth. When you encounter a person berating a service worker or showing impatience with a struggling cashier, you are not witnessing their character alone. You are observing a state of consciousness that exists within your own being. The question then becomes not, why are they behaving this way? But rather, what state am I occupying that allows this manifestation in my world? Let me share with you a profound secret. Every interaction with those who cannot reciprocate is actually an interaction with the divine itself. When you extend kindness to a stranger, when you show patience with a struggling server, you are not merely performing good deeds. You are acknowledging and honoring the divine presence within all creation. As I have often said, in my Father's house are many mansions, and each person you encounter occupies one of these states of consciousness. The mental conversations you hold about others, particularly those in service roles, create the template for your experiences. If you assume that people are rude to service workers, you will witness this manifestation. If you live from the state of everyone is kind and patient, your world will reflect this back to you. This is not coincidence, it is law. Imagine entering a busy cafe where a barista has made an error with your order. In that moment, you have a choice not between patience and anger, but between different states of consciousness. The state you choose to occupy will not only determine your response, but will ripple out into your entire world of experience. For the law of identical harvest ensures that what you sow in consciousness, you shall surely reap in experience. Your assumptions about people's character become the lens through which you experience them. If you assume that someone in a service position is beneath you, you create a world where hierarchy and dismissiveness prevail. But if you recognize that same person as another expression of the divine, as yourself in another form, you create a world of mutual respect and understanding. The spiritual significance of kindness without expectation lies not in the action itself, but in the state of consciousness from which it springs. When you treat others with respect regardless of their ability to reciprocate, you are actually acknowledging the unity of all consciousness. You are living from the state of the divine self that recognizes no separation, no hierarchy, only the perfect expression of love in all its forms. Consider this. Every mental conversation you hold about those in service positions becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. These seeds grow into the experiences you encounter. When you mentally rehearse scenarios of conflict or superiority, you are creating those very situations in your world. But when you maintain mental conversations of respect, kindness, and understanding, you create a world that reflects these divine qualities. The law of identical harvest operates with perfect precision in these interactions. Every assumption, every mental conversation, every state you occupy regarding those who cannot repay your kindness will return to you multiplied. This is not karma in the traditional sense, but rather the perfect operation of consciousness, expressing itself through experience. Remember, beloved, that in the realm of consciousness, there is no such thing as a one-sided interaction. Every person you encounter is playing a role in your consciousness drama, reflecting back to you your own assumed states. When you truly grasp this principle, you begin to see that treating others with kindness is not an act of charity, but an acknowledgement of the divine unity underlying all experience. Let your interactions with those who cannot repay you become conscious expressions of your highest spiritual understanding. For in these moments, you are not merely being kind to others. You are acknowledging and honoring the divine presence within all creation, including yourself. In the vast temple of consciousness, let us now explore the second principle that reveals the true nature of character, the spiritual law of promise-keeping. For in this eternal truth lies a profound understanding. Every promise made is not merely a social contract, but a divine covenant with the very fabric of creation itself. When we speak of promises, we must first understand that they exist not in the outer world of effects, but in the inner world of causes, consciousness itself. A promise, in its purest form, is a declaration of a state of being. When you make a promise, you are not merely committing to a future action. You are declaring, "I am one who fulfills this commitment." This is the deeper meaning of the scripture. In the beginning was the Word. Consider this eternal principle. Your word is the creative power through which you shape your world. When you give your word, you are engaging in an act of creation, as surely as when God said, "Let there be light." The promise itself becomes a bridge between your current state and the state you wish to occupy. A bridge built not of physical materials, but of consciousness itself. Let me share with you a profound truth. When you break a promise, you are not merely disappointing another person. You are denying your own divine nature. For in the realm of consciousness, every promise kept is an affirmation of your oneness with the divine, and every promise broken is a temporary forgetting of who you really are. As I have often said, your consciousness is the only reality. Imagine, if you will, making a commitment to help a friend move homes. In the world of Caesar, this might seem a simple matter of scheduling and physical effort, but in the realm of consciousness, you are declaring, "I am reliable. I am trustworthy. I am one who honors commitments." When you live from this state, the external circumstances arrange themselves to support your declaration. This is not coincidence. It is law. The role of imagination in promise-keeping cannot be overstated. Before any promise is fulfilled in the outer world, it must first be completed in consciousness. This is why I teach the importance of living from the end. When you make a promise, immediately assume the feeling of having already fulfilled it. Feel the satisfaction, the integrity, the completion. For what you assume, you must experience. But what of those moments when keeping a promise becomes challenging? Here lies the true test of spiritual understanding. When obstacles arise, they are not barriers to your promise-keeping. They are opportunities to demonstrate your faith in the law of consciousness. For if you maintain the state of "I am one who keeps promises," the universe must conform to support this truth. The breaking of promises reveals a profound spiritual truth. It shows us where we have temporarily forgotten our divine nature. When someone habitually breaks promises, they are not merely being unreliable. They are living in a state of consciousness that denies their own power to create and maintain order in their world. They have accepted a limited version of themselves, forgetting that they are the operant power in their universe. Consider the mental conversations you hold about your promises. Do you entertain doubts about your ability to fulfill them? Do you rehearse excuses for potential failure? These mental conversations are prayers, beloved, and they will manifest according to their nature. Instead, maintain the mental conversation of one who has already fulfilled every promise, who lives in perfect alignment with their word. The bridge between human and divine consciousness is built promise by promise, commitment by commitment. Each kept promise strengthens your connection to your divine nature, while each broken promise temporarily obscures it. This is why integrity in small matters is as crucial as in great ones. For there is no small promise in consciousness, only varying expressions of your relationship with the divine. Living from the end in promise-keeping means assuming the state of one who has already fulfilled all commitments. It means feeling the satisfaction of reliability, the peace of integrity, the joy of trustworthiness before these qualities manifest in the outer world. For remember, what you feel as real in consciousness must objectify itself in your world. Let every promise you make become a sacred covenant with your own divine nature. For in truth, every promise kept is an acknowledgement of your creative power. Every commitment fulfilled a testament to your divine heritage. As you master this principle, you will find that your word becomes law, not through force of will, but through the natural expression of your awakened consciousness. Remember that in the realm of promise-keeping, there is no such thing as an external obligation. There is only the law of consciousness expressing itself through your commitments. When you truly grasp this principle, every promise becomes an opportunity to demonstrate your understanding of the one great law. Consciousness is the only reality. Now, beloved, let us explore the practical application of these divine principles through the most powerful tool given to man, the art of revision. For in this sacred practice lies the power to transform not only our own character, but the entire world of our experience. Remember this eternal truth. Your consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, when you wish to transform any aspect of character, whether in yourself or in your perception of others, you must begin by revising the states of consciousness that gave birth to current conditions. This is not mere positive thinking. It is the active participation in your own creation. Let us begin with self-revision. When you observe patterns in your relationships or behaviors that do not align with your highest understanding, do not condemn them. Instead, enter the silence of your imagination and revise these scenes. If you have treated someone unkindly, if you have broken a promise, if you have lived beneath your ideal, these are not fixed realities, but fluid states of consciousness waiting to be transformed. I tell you this, every night, before you enter sleep, practice the art of revision. See the day's events transformed according to your highest ideals. If you spoke harshly to a service worker, revise the scene. See yourself speaking with kindness and understanding. Feel the satisfaction of expressing your divine nature. For what you imagine lovingly and faithfully must come to pass. Consider this profound truth. When you wish to cultivate noble character traits, you must first assume the feeling of already possessing them. Do not say, "I will become more trustworthy," but rather, "I am trustworthy." Live from this assumption until it becomes your dominant state. For the law states that whatever you assume, you must express. The art of spiritual self-reflection is not about judgment, but about awareness of states. When you observe yourself acting beneath your ideal, ask not, "Why did I do this?" but rather, "What state was I occupying?" For in identifying the state, you gain the power to shift into a higher one. This is the meaning of repentance, not sorrow for actions, but a complete change of consciousness. Now, regarding the transformation of relationships, understand this. Everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. Therefore, when you wish to transform any relationship, begin not with the other person, but with your consciousness of them. If you see someone as untrustworthy, revise this assumption. See them as reliable, dependable, true to their word. For your assumption about them must manifest in your experience. Let me share with you a profound secret. When you imagine noble qualities in another, you are actually awakening these qualities within yourself. For there is only one consciousness, expressing itself through seemingly separate forms. Therefore, as you assume the best in others, you call forth the best in yourself. The practice of conscious assumption in relationships is not mere wishful thinking. It is the active participation in the creation of your world. When you assume someone is trustworthy, when you hold them in the consciousness of their highest self, you are actually creating the conditions for this truth to manifest. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you consciously assume must objectify itself. Building trust through spiritual understanding means recognizing that all trust begins in consciousness. Before any external evidence appears, you must first establish the feeling of complete trust in your imagination. Feel the security, the reliability, the absolute certainty that comes with true trust. For what you feel as real in consciousness must manifest in experience. Remember this: every relationship in your life is a mirror of your consciousness. If you find yourself surrounded by unreliable people, by broken promises and betrayed trust, look not to them for change, but to your own assumptions. For as you shift your consciousness to align with your highest ideals, your entire world must shift to reflect this new state. The practice of living from the state of the ideal self requires constant vigilance. In every moment, ask yourself, what would my ideal self do in this situation? How would my ideal self respond? Then, instead of trying to act like this ideal, assume that you are this ideal. Feel its naturalness, its reality. For what you assume about yourself, you must become. Let every interaction become an opportunity for spiritual practice. When someone shows you their limitations, see instead their limitless potential. When someone breaks trust, hold them in the consciousness of perfect integrity. For in doing so, you are not merely being optimistic. You are actively participating in their transformation through the law of consciousness. In this final contemplation, we embrace the profound mystery of character assessment through the law of assumption. This principle reveals that your assumptions are not passive observations, but active prayers shaping reality. What you assume about others must manifest, for consciousness is the sole architect of experience. Your silent mental dialogues about others are sacred acts of creation. Labeling someone unreliable entrenches that role. Envisioning their divinity summons it. When faced with behaviors that seem flawed, recognize them not as fixed traits, but as fluid states, temporary reflections of consciousness awaiting your redemptive assumption. Every person in your world mirrors the roles you assign them. Assume another's perfection and watch them rise to meet it. The process is immutable. Anchor an assumption in consciousness. Trust the bridge of incidents that follows and witness its materialization. Observe how assuming the best in others unveils hidden virtues, not by chance, but by law. Character is externalized consciousness. What you perceive as flaws are mere ephemeral states, transformable through your unwavering assumption of their divine potential. In interactions, discard judgment. Instead, feel the naturalness of their integrity. The outer world is lifeless clay. Your assumptions breathe life into its forms. When meeting others, immediately assume their nobility. Replace mental critique with visions of their highest self. Persist in faith, knowing reality bends to conscious conviction. You are the operant power. Assume boldly. The world, a mirror, has no choice but to reflect your assumptions. Beloved, if these eternal truths have stirred something deep within your consciousness, if you have felt the resonance of these spiritual principles in your being, I invite you to share your own journey of awakening. For in sharing our experiences, we participate in the collective expansion of consciousness. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, The Mindful Sphere, where we continue to explore these divine principles of consciousness and transformation. By joining our spiritual community, You'll be among the first to receive new teachings designed to elevate your consciousness, challenge your assumptions, and guide you deeper into the practice of spiritual law. Until we meet again in consciousness, remember this: every assumption you make, every state you occupy, every act of faith you practice brings you closer to the full realization of your divine nature. You are not becoming something new. You are awakening to what you have always been. The power is within you. The time is now. Begin your practice